My secret, just do something that ain't nobody ever done before, but make it sound like something that's always been there forever.
Welcome to This Filipino American Life, a podcast that explores the nuanced experiences of Filipinos in the United States at iba pa. My name is Joe Bernardo, and I am here in the Philippines. Gurley's actually sitting next to me right now, but we are here to interview Tony De La Cruz.
Yes, I'm excited.
Welcome to the podcast, Tony.
Thanks for having me.
So Tony De La Cruz is a former PBA, recently retired PBA player, and he grew up in the United States. He's Filipino American, and he moved here to play in the PBA. So we're going to talk to him about his experiences here in the Philippines and playing the PBA as a Filipino American, because I guess there's some issues or some not issues, but there are a lot of nuances of Filipino Americans playing the PBA. So, Tony, where are you from?
So I grew up in Carson, California.
Carson. Did you go to a Sea House?
Yes. Carson High, class of 96.
Nice.
Colt Love. Grew up there, and it's funny because I'm half Filipino, so and I don't look Filipino at all. And so growing up in Carson, everyone thought I was either Mexican or white. So, it's just interesting because growing up with so many other Filipinos, I have identity issues as a young kid because I don't look like everyone else.
Okay.
Right? Like all my friends were either black or Hispanic or Filipino or Samoan. And then it's like I go home and my dad looks this way and my mom looks that way.
Yeah.
And I was a really young kid and I'm like, my parents are different. You know? So it's a weird experience growing up half anything, I think. At least for when I was growing up. And so I thought it was a great experience growing up in Carson. It wasn't always pleasant, but definitely shaped me.
Did you feel that you were, did you kind of reject your Filipino side or did you embrace it?
Oh, I totally embraced it. It was more so like I was always trying to fit in. Like,
got it.
I was always trying to hey guys, I'm really Filipino. I eat pancit and I like rice also. And then it was like, but yeah, I just don't look Filipino.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
But I have the most Filipino name ever, right? So, but
Tito Tony De La Cruz.
So I definitely embraced that side of my culture, but on the other end, like I understand that I'm also Caucasian, and my mom's of English descent, and but she grew up in Ohio, and
your dad's from where?
My dad is originally from here in Manila, in Caloocan, and then migrated in 1968.
Okay.
And then met my mom in LA, who also moved from Ohio, and I guess the rest is history.
Nice. And you have siblings, correct?
Yes, I have an older sister who is, I think she's 6 feet tall. She's very, very tall. Allison, and then my younger sister, Marcy, who's about 5'7", 5'8".
Nice.
So, and both our parents are 5'5" and 5'4". So, I don't know how that happened. I guess lucky genes, right? I mean,
was it your mom's kind of?
I guess my mom has uncles that are 6 feet plus.
Got it.
But then also my dad has some relatives, like some uncles as well, that are around 6 feet.
Yeah.
So
how tall are you?
I'm 6'4".
Wow.
Yeah. So very lucky on that side in terms of everyone wants to be tall. So
yeah.
I don't want to say the word blessed, but like I was very fortunate to get that gene.
Nice. So when did you start playing ball?
When I was in 4th grade, I went to a school called 186th Street School in Gardena. And I remember that you were not allowed to play basketball for recess until you were in the 4th grade.
What?
Which was, at that time, that was the rule. I thought it was really stupid. So I was like, every day I would wait, I want to play basketball. I know I'd play basketball at home and stuff, but when I finally got to 4th grade, that's when I really got serious about it because we could play at recess. And I'm still a huge Laker fan, and my dad would take me to games. I got to see Magic and Kareem and Worthy and all that. So
Showtime.
It was very, very exciting growing up in that era. And again, like I never looked back. I mean, obviously I wasn't the greatest kid at basketball, but I knew I was super driven, and I wasn't going to, my dream was to be the starting shooting guard for the Los Angeles Lakers. I was going to wear number 4 like Byron Scott. Yes, exactly. So, excuse me. And then, I mean, I just continued to play and I never stopped.
So did you play like a guard growing up?
I try to emulate that. And it's funny because I coach now. And so when I coach kids, I give them all these drills and I tell them to do this, do that. But what's funny is they all have access to YouTube. Oh. And I say, go on YouTube and you can Google or you can just type up like dribbling drills or shooting drills or passing drills, and a million things come up. There's variations of everything. And I said, when I was growing up, I was born in the 70s. So like when I was growing up, we had to be lucky and go to the video store, right? And look for a video that was out, and then, or either rent it or buy it. I'd have to beg my dad or go to the library and rent a book, borrow a book. And it was this like 1950s picture of some guy in Chuck Taylor's, like, looks all cheesy, right? And so the information that is out there for kids now is just unreal. Yeah. I mean, I feel like you can get your college degree on YouTube, right? Like you can, if you typed in like how to have a heart transplant, it'd show you. Like there's just so many things on YouTube. Like I don't want to be. Yeah, exactly. But like if you were the one that had to change a battery out of a refrigerator, you could look that up on YouTube, and it would come up. And I think that's so amazing to me because if you're resourceful and you're driven, I mean, nothing's going to stop you if you use the internet.
I try to fix Gurley's car through watching videos on YouTube. Yes, no, it died, but I was able to change the battery. So
exactly. So I mean,
it worked for a while until we figured out what was really wrong with it. So you played ball as a little kid. How did you know you were good, or like when did you find out like, hey, maybe I can do this professionally?
Well, it's funny because I have this story that I do public speaking and I give this speech, and it's when I was a kid. I went to Byron Scott basketball camp
in Irvine.
Ours was in St. Bernard near Westchester.
Got it.
And so my dad signed me up, and I went. It was a day camp, so you leave. James Worthy was there, Olden Polynice, obviously Byron Scott. So like, Jim Newman from Arizona State. Like, God. So all these great
We're aging
people.
Ourselves.
Yes. So all these people were like giving you this information.
Yeah.
And in my junior high, they had a basketball tryout coming up. And so I was so excited. And my dad was excited for me. He was like, oh, you're going to do well. This and that. You just did this camp. And I remember trying out. And the coach comes to me and he says, you're just not that good. And he's like, you just need to practice more. And I was crushed because all I heard was, you're just not that good. You're not going to make it. So after school, my dad picked me up and he was so excited. He's like, well, so how'd it go? What position are you going to be? What number are you? Was your jersey? And I just lost it and I was crying. I was like, I didn't make it. What's going on? And in that moment, I was waiting for my dad to save me and be like, don't worry, I got you. I'll talk to the principal. I'll talk to the coach. I'll talk to the athletic director, whatever he had to do, get me on this team. And in that moment, my dad said the greatest things he could have said to me. And I didn't know it at the time, but he says, so what? You didn't make it. What are you going to do so next time you make it? At first I'm like, what the hell? Like, you're supposed to get my back. Yeah. What is that? But in retrospect, that was the greatest thing he could have said to me, right? It was like this lesson. And I use that to this day. Like, I that's always my thing. So when I got to high school, I didn't make varsity till my senior year. I was one of the slowest kids. I wasn't very, athletic. But my coach would always encourage me. He said, look, you're not the strongest, you're not the tallest, you're not the quickest, but you pay attention, you work hard. It'll all come together. Just keep going. My senior year, I made it, and I had an, okay season. Then when I got to college, I got there on just academically, UC Irvine. So they had all given away all their scholarships. So I go and I try out, and they're like, well, we like you, but we don't have anything to offer you, but you're welcome to try out. So I tried out and I made it. I was a walk-on. And I had a pretty decent year. I paid attention. That was always my thing. Pay attention, follow, be detailed. And I was really talented at that, and I was okay as a basketball player. I wasn't the greatest, but I don't think I was horrible. And I played for 2 years and then didn't really see eye to eye with the new coach that came in. So I decided I'm just going to go to school. I loved it. was involved in.
Was it Cameron Dollar?
No, Cameron Dollar was one of the assistants.
Okay.
So it was Pat Douglas. I'm not dropping names, but yeah. But again, it was one of those learning lessons. He's like, I don't really think you're a good basketball player. And so I had to accept that, and I internalized that. But I just was like, I'm going to go to school full time. And I loved all the social events. I joined Kababayan. Like it was on. It was over. Like I was just all about college life. Yeah. And then this opportunity.
What was your major?
Sociology.
Okay.
Which my friend jokes about and says that all that is throwing a frisbee around. That's what he would tell me. He's like, "You're a social major, and you guys just throw frisbees, right?" I'm like, but then the time came for me to go to the Philippines. I had an opportunity. My dad made a couple of phone calls, and before I knew it, I was trying out for a team in Eagle Rock. They came and watched me play at Eagle Rock Gym or Eagle Rock High School, and I had a workout, and I guess I did pretty well, and they offered me a 3-year contract for Shell. Next thing I know, I'm this 21-year-old moving to the Philippines.
Wow.
And I thought I was Kobe Bryant.
Wait, so going back, like, your dad made a few phone calls, and then did they come to the U.S.
Yeah,
often?
so at the time, this was 1999.
Got it.
At the time, the PBA was going through this weird transition where everyone wanted a Phil-Am. Right, so there's some of the great Phil-Ams that played here at that time. Asi Taulava, Danny Siegel, Eric Mink. So all these teams want to find that gem. I want that next. So the PBA had one rule, meaning you could directly hire a Phil foreigner, but you can only use it once. And Shell did not use that direct hire yet. So my dad emailed them, and he was like, "Hi, my name is this, and my son played at UC Irvine. He's 6'4". So you think 6'4", Phil-Am, okay, this guy has to be good."
Yeah.
So I guess they came, they flew out, they watched me in this workout, they liked me, they offered me a deal.
Was it a workout that you had to kind of coordinate?
Yeah, I coordinated the workout a little bit with some coaches and some other players.
Okay.
But I felt I played pretty good. And so I got this offer and I signed it, and next thing I know, I'm on this plane going to and I didn't even finish school yet. So I tried to put it in my contract that I could go back and forth to finish school. And then what's funny is near the end, I had to speak to my counselor, and I was like, "Look, I'm playing in the Philippines." She goes, "Look, you're in good standing condition. Go have fun, earn lots of money. When you're done, you can come back and finish. You're at a UC school, so we can't kick you out. It's a public school." So I'm about 30 units. I'm not finished yet at Irvine, but I'm about 30 units away.
Nice.
And every time I go back and I talk to a 2A counselor, they'll always say, "Wait till you're ready to come back." And I'm like, "Why?" And they're like, if you try to like get your degree through online courses that we offer, you're going to pay triple the tuition.
Oh, wow.
Because you're out of state, right? Wow. Something like that. Something weird like that. So, and then I have to take my last 3 classes on campus to get the degree. So that's my next phase of my life is I want to get my college degree from UC Irvine.
Nice.
I've had opportunities to try to transfer here to certain schools. I won't name the schools, but they're like, "Oh no, you can go. We know someone at the admin. We'll transfer you." And I'm like thinking, my dad paid all this money for a UC Irvine degree. I'm going to get a UC Irvine degree. So that's what I owe him.
Yeah.
And I don't know how much weight that carries in the real world, right? Like, people say, it's a UC school, and people say it's prestigious, but I realize more and more as you go through life, what are your life skills, right? How can you interact with people, and things I didn't really learn at college. It wasn't until I left college, right? Yeah. But of course, in the working world, you people want to see that you're qualified, you have a degree, you've been educated. So I understand that side of it in terms of education. But that's my plug for all kids. You go to school, that's fine, but at the same time, you can learn a whole lot more if you travel. If you get out of college. A friend of mine made a good point. He's like, "If I won the lotto, I'm not going to go get my master's. I'm going to travel the world. I'm going to meet people. Yeah. You're going to pick up all these life skills, people skills, right?" So there's this balance, I guess. Yeah. And people say, "Oh, look at these great millionaires that dropped out of high school."
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I want to go that far, but I definitely know that education is important, but at the same time, you have to have social skills as well.
Yeah, totally.
Emotional quotient. So that's where
I know a lot of people who have PhDs and don't have social skills. So.
Absolutely.
I won't name any names. But going back, you were 21-year-old and you came to the Philippines. Have you been here before?
So I came once in 95 when I was 17 for a another Phil-Am trip of basketball players.
Oh, okay.
To kind of play the local high schools. So we played like San Beda and La Salle and Ateneo, all the high schools. And it was a great experience because I got to meet my family for the first time and really get in touch with my heritage. And then I had an offer to go play at La Salle.
Okay.
After high school.
Oh, so this is okay.
So when I was in 95.
So you already had those kind of ties.
Yeah, but I knew I wanted to go to school in the States. For some reason, I was like, I want to go to school in the States. I want to go to school in the States. So when I did go to UC Irvine, I never looked back. I loved that experience. I mean, you say what you will about whatever school you go to. Like, you know, I know the reputation before Irvine was it was very boring, but I liked it. It's just like it was really chill and mellow. It's a great like West Coast school. You know, you don't have the hustle and bustle of UCLA, right?
Yeah.
But and no offense to other schools, but you don't have like the farm life of like UC Riverside. You know, like because you know in my time a bunch of friends went to Riverside, so I'd go and visit them, and I'm like, man, this is really boring, man. And he's like, shut up, man. We got stuff to do here. But I guess it's that balance, right?
Wow.
So and that's what I loved at Irvine. It was right near the beach. I'd go to the beach every morning and surf before practice or before class rather, and show up with like chanelas and like sand all over my feet.
That's like Santa Barbara, yeah.
And exactly, right? Like so, and you're a public school, so what are they going to do? Kick you out, right? I'm walking in here with chanelas on, getting my education. So,
wow, you're doing a lot of promos for Irvine. Right now.
Go to Irvine.
Are you on the payroll? So yeah, you know, when you first came here, you know, what was it like? Like first maybe year of playing in the PBA. You got drafted by not drafted or
direct hire
by Shell. What was the first year like?
You know, it was a wake up call because I thought that when I signed this contract and I started making significant amount of money, that's it. My life's going to be over. I'm going to be this millionaire and I'm going to be, everyone's going to know me and I'm going to be so happy. And it hit me like right in the face. Like, wait a minute. I hate it here. It's not, because I always thought like, it's okay, I'm going to make it like the States. It's going to be like the States. And I was miserable for the first like year.
Wow.
You know, like my ex-wife or my then wife was with me and like, I'd cry to her every night. Like, what am I doing? You know, I was lost on the basketball court as well. Like I wasn't really playing. And so I would just buy things to like feed that void. Right. So, and I just knew I wasn't happy. And a friend of mine said it best because I asked him for some device. This is before the internet was big, right? And I said, hey, I want to get channels from LA on my TV. And there was some device out there. I forgot what it was called. I want to say it was Slingbox, but I don't know. And it was something like that, right? And so he goes, why would you do that? And I'm like, because I miss, you know, channels in LA. And he goes, but you live in Manila, man. And he goes, enjoy it. Like wherever you're at, you should enjoy the culture and the food and the minute I accepted that and the minute I understood that, I never looked back. Like I love it here. Like just the pace of life sometimes is a little too slow. The traffic is ridiculous.
Yeah.
But once you get used to the way life is here, like I love it. Like I love the Philippines. I've never looked back, you know.
You never want to move back.
I mean, I do. Obviously, my kids live in the States, so I want to be close to them. But the lifestyle here, to me, is just like, I love it. I just love, like, when I go back to the States, everything is too fast. You know, I'll drive on the freeway, and it's, my friend's like, are you okay? I'm like, what? And he's like, you're going 45. Like, I'm like, I'm not, I am? You don't go that fast here, right? So, but yeah, I was miserable for the first year, and I was lost basketball-wise. I was lost culturally. And then the minute I accepted that I was living here, it felt like this whole world opened up. You know, the restaurants I was eating at, the people I was hanging out with. Yeah. I opened up to my teammates more. And so this whole new world just opened up.
Speaking of teammates, did they treat you different because you're a Phil-Am? Yeah. Did they not accept you, or did they embrace you immediately? What was it like?
Yeah, I mean, I think in my experience, what I've noticed is Phil-Ams that come in with this kind of swag to them, like, you know who I am? Like, I always make this joke. You know who I am? You know how many points I scored in the Phil-Am leagues? You know, like back there, I was dropping 40 points in the Phil-Am leagues. Why? I should be playing, right? And when you get here, you realize, oh crap, like Filipinos can really play basketball, and it's a different style of play.
Oh yeah, and you have to learn that.
And you have to learn
Yeah,
that. And so, and then you also have to stay humble.
Yeah.
And you definitely have to compete and hold your own and stand up for yourself. But, you know, I tell Philams all the time, you're a guest in a home and you need to act accordingly. And, you know, if I try to speak Tagalog to the best possible way, or I'm full Filipino, you know, both my parents are born and raised in, you know, whatever part of the Philippines. I feel like the locals will always look at you as a Phil foreigner. You know, and I have friends who are full Filipino and that migrated to the States, and then they move back and it's like, oh, that guy's the foreigner.
Really? So
yes.
they were born and raised here? And
I mean, they might have moved when they were like 5 or something. But I just feel like that's to me, that's been my struggle, is trying to teach other Phil foreigners or Phil Ams especially, like, hey man, like, you need to embrace your culture, be proud of who you are. You know, you do carry Filipino blood, but at the same time, like, be you, but be respectful. And I think if you can hold on to those two things of being respectful, but be who you are, you'll go a long way as a Phil Am here.
Yeah, I was talking to my friend, Carmel, who was also interviewed for the podcast, like, and we were talking about, like, I guess certain characteristics that Phil Ams have when they come here, or like maybe certain privilege that they have. And then, yeah, you talked about how some people have that swag. How do you talk to them and kind of tell them about, like, being a guest in someone else's home?
Well, it's something that you're gonna have to learn, obviously, right? But you do have to show up with this level of engagement with other people, but at the same time, as a Phil Am, again, and then it's weird in my experience too, because I don't look Filipino, and like people hear my last name and they're like, De La Cruz, but you look like that, you know, this white guy. And you know, I could barely speak Tagalog, so you know, I can get by, but
your accent's good, man.
I try, man, but like, and I make this excuse, and like people always give me a hard time, like, man, how long have you been here? And I'm like, I'm going on my 19th year, and I can't speak Tagalog fluently, and people are like, what's wrong with you? But then I realize, and I know this is an excuse, but if I was in Mexico or if I was in Japan, if you don't speak Spanish or you don't speak Japanese, you're not going to eat.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I went to Japan for the national team, and we were there for 10 days, and I didn't care what my Japanese sounded like. I would just use basic words, and I felt so much more confident at the end of the trip because I was like, if I don't say this, I'm not going to eat.
Yeah.
Whereas in the Philippines, I feel like because everyone knows English, and you know, you're trying to order and you're trying to be like, Miss Isang yung, and she's like, what, dude? I speak English. What do you want? You know? So it's like, okay, I'll just go. And I know that's kind of lazy on my part, but I think that's the one mental block I have to get past to speak Tagalog.
But I mean, you know, English is so prevalent here.
Exactly.
Because of American colonization and all that stuff.
But at the same time, too, as a Filipino, you know, I should learn the language and so I can be more in tune with obviously my culture, but like my family, my friends.
Yeah. Nice. And would you say there is a camaraderie among Filipino Americans in the PBA here?
Ooh, that's a deep question. I would say, okay, so I'll break it down like this.
Sure.
In the first part of my career, I felt like the Philams were a very tight-knit group. And I realized because everyone understood the struggle that we all had, being away from home, you know, you're going through that same daily struggle of trying to get accepted, things like that. And as we all kind of aged and aged out, the younger generation came up, and I just think that they were so disconnected from each other. It was funny to me because I noticed, like, if I look back at all my pictures when I was like, for the first maybe 10 years of my career, like every Philam would invite each other to someone's baptism, someone's, you know, birthday party. Like everyone hung out, and everyone like looked out for each other. And then after a while, it's like new Philams came in, and like they were younger, you know, so you were kind of disconnected from them.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden, this guy's beefing with that guy, and that guy doesn't like that guy. And it's like funny because now it's like, wow, we're all just kind of all over the place, you know. Until now, I'm a 40-year-old and I'm coaching these 20-something-year-olds, and I don't even look at it. Yeah, I don't even know what they're like talking about half the time. And it's not even about Philam and local. It's about, I'm just old,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
like,
yeah.
and I embrace it. Like,
Yeah.
I'm old. Like, I like 90s hip hop. Like, you
Yeah.
know, you like this new millennial stuff. I don't even know if it's millennial, right? Like
Gen Z.
Gen Z,
Yeah.
right? So I think it's just an age thing.
Yeah.
And because there's so many Phil-Ams now, they're just kind of all scattered and all over the place. And of
Okay.
course, you'll see a Phil-Am and you'll be like, hey man, how are you doing?
Yeah.
How's your experience? You know, and I try to talk to the younger Phil-Ams that are like going to college, especially.
Yeah.
Because that's a tough road right there. Because you're not making any money.
But you're still playing a
And
lot
you're
of
still
ball.
playing
Yeah,
a lot of
yeah.
ball.
Wow.
And like, you have to deal with going to class. You also have to deal with, you know, the
Oh,
daily
wow.
struggle of like
Yeah.
maybe riding a Jeep to practice.
Yeah.
You know, trying to eat. Like, you know, you don't have the budget. So
Added layer. Wow.
so many other layers. So
Wow.
I try to look out for Phil-Ams that way and, you know, try to encourage them. But major respect to the ones that make it past all that and they make it to the PBA. It's pretty awesome.
How many Phil-Ams are there? A rough estimate in the PBA.
I can't give you that number, but I know that each team is only allowed 5.
Okay.
They call them Phil foreigners. So there's
They
a
could be
couple
Australian.
there's a couple of Filipinos that are from Australia, Germany. So they only allow 5 Phil foreigners per team.
And how many teams are there?
And there is 12 teams. So if everyone filled that up, 12 times 5, you're looking at 60.
Yeah.
So, and I think it's roughly that number.
Okay.
If that.
And then how many do you think are like in the college ranks and just trying to?
Oh, there's tons.
Really?
There's tons.
I didn't know
and then
that.
there's different leagues here, right? You have the 2 college leagues of the NCAA and the UAP, and then you also have MPBL, which is a whole nother league, commercial league, and then you have another commercial league that from different regions of the Philippines that
Is
are
it
really
the NBA?
small.
No.
There was the NBA before,
Yeah.
but so MPBL is more regional, but
Got
then
it.
you also have other commercial leagues where like a
Okay.
Phil-Am might, I got on this team. Then you also have the ABL, which plays other Asian countries. So the Philippines has a team,
Yeah.
like Hong Kong, Singapore.
Oh wow.
And I know when that first started, Filipinos were very, very sought after to be the imports.
Oh, okay.
Because in Southeast Asia, Philippines is really good.
Yeah.
You know, and so the experience that they can bring to those teams. I know when the ABL first started, a lot of Filipinos were being recruited to be the imports
Wow.
on those teams.
So Phil-Ams were probably looking at like the hundreds, thousands.
I would say there's probably well over 200 Phil-Ams here right
Wow.
now playing basketball. If you count all the
Different leagues.
different
colleges
leagues and colleges.
Wow.
So that's a lot of Phil-Ams.
So going back to the style of play, like what are the differences? Obviously, before there were, there's a different key, different size key. What are some of the other kind of nuances of PBA versus basketball in the U.S.?
I just think the mentality of what's a foul and what's not a foul.
Oh yeah.
The little, like I had to learn this quick, the little, I'll call them Filipino tricks, like how to hold without being caught, how to push without being caught,
holding the shorts,
things like that. But then like little things to get in your head, like they'll hit you really hard. And I think if you show that you're bothered, the more they'll go at you.
Wow.
But if you don't back down and you just keep going, they realize, I can't get in this guy's head.
Wow.
So that was my technique when I was playing. I obviously never backed down, but at the same time, I always kept going. So if somebody hit me, like gave me like a really tough screen, I would definitely keep going and not complain.
Wow. So yeah. So you can't do like James Harden kind of moves.
No.
I got hit.
Exactly.
I can't do it. Yeah, I remember I used to play, just like in the parks and stuff with a bunch of, Filipinos from the Philippines, and they would grab my arm. They would like, there's a lot more emphasis on zone, obviously, and I remember like they would step on your shoes.
I mean, anything goes, and it's, as frustrating as you might get, you just think that they're trying to find a way to, 1, beat you, and 2, get under your skin. So how do you combat that?
Yeah. And how long did you play in the PBA?
So I retired after 18 seasons.
18
in the PBA. Yes,
oh my
5.
gosh.
I played 5 for Shell and 13 with
For
Alaska.
right?
Yeah,
and you won a few championships.
Won 3. I've been to the finals 9 times. Wow. And obviously, I wish I would have won every single championship, but you're not going to do that.
Yeah. Sorry, I forgot to research all your
no worries.
your stats and everything.
No.
Yeah.
I think the biggest thing that I'm proud of is obviously the duration was great,
Mm-hmm.
but I think my my greatest achievement is all the people that I played with and met.
Nice.
So I've played with some really good, talented, not only Filipinos, but imports.
Yeah.
And then obviously winning championships was great, but also losing championships in hindsight was great as well because it teaches you lessons. So that's what I try to get the lesson out of everything.
Yeah. Were there like champagne celebrations in the locker room?
Yeah, I mean, we would use beer, but I mean, you feel so, I guess it's euphoric after you win. And you can say that we're the best team in the nation. You know, I think that's the coolest part. You know, and everyone watches basketball here. Yeah. Everyone watches basketball. So, and then they'll let you know too. I mean, there's times when we were losing championships and they'll be like, "Idol, what happened? You lost. What's wrong with you guys?" And you're like, So, you know, and that's being kind.
Yeah.
I can only imagine, like, if you're an NBA player and, you know, the scrutiny that you get as an NBA player. So here, I mean, I used to be on social media, like, hard, but then it bothered me because I didn't like what I was reading when people would talk about, you know,
trolls
brutal,
and all
like,
that
trolls,
stuff.
brutal, man. Like, what's wrong with you? You're a waste of money. They're wasting money on you. And it's like, you know, how do you internalize that, right? So you have to wear thick skin, but at the same time, I was like, you know what, this bothers me. I'm just gonna get off, and so that's why I've swore off social media forever. And everyone always penalizes me, right? The one thing is, like, when they ask you, like, "Oh, did you see so and so?" I'm like, "No, what happened?" You don't look at their Instagram. I'm like, I don't have an Instagram.
Yeah.
And then the next thing is, well, if you want to go into this field, you need to have social media behind you, right? Because it's currency. How many followers do you have? How much influence do you have? And I think that this kind of sucks, but I realize it's the day and age of social media. So I choose just not to, and I'm less stressful for it, I guess.
No, that's good. That's good. But 18 years. What was your secret? Longevity.
I think just
lots of kangkong.
I know. I think just paying attention, mentally paying attention. Try to add value to wherever I went. And value doesn't necessarily mean I'm going to score 20 points. Yeah. The value meant I'm a leader, I'm a great teammate, I'm a good locker room guy, because that would extend my career an extra 2 or 3 years. Wow. You know, because professional athlete is, I think, the only profession where it's like a bell curve, right? Like, you have a shelf life, and the longer you stay in that industry, your salary is going to go up, and then at a certain point it's going to dip. Because your production. But any other industry, I think, like, the longer you're there, you're going to be promoted, you're going to get raises and things like that. So here you have to take advantage of that shelf life. Yeah. And, you know, I tell other basketball players, you act up now because you're scoring 25 points a game. You're acting like a superstar, but if you don't play the game the right way, meaning you don't go to the appearances, you don't, you know, smile at the right people, you're not polite to the right people, they'll remember that when you're 35. They'll remember that when you're 36 and it's contract time. Wow. Right? Like, that's how I see it. Yeah. But if you can say, hey, I was, you know, acting with integrity the entire time, with character, I was polite to people, they might give you that extra contract because they know, oh, this guy's valuable to have on our team. Right? Yeah. Because it's easy to say, do we really want a 38-year-old on the team? Yeah. Right? What's the value that he brings? Yeah. Or we need to have him. Like, he's a great glue guy. He, you know, look at the NBA, right? Like, look at those guys that are
Kevin Willis.
Exactly. Like
Juwan Howard.
They definitely are not going to play 40 minutes. Yeah. They'll be ready if they're called upon. Yeah. But the team understands the value they bring. And so that could be the difference of making an extra how much a year, right? It's true. To nothing. So
Vince Carter
exactly. And then obviously physically you have to take care of your body. And you look at guys that have been in the league for well past their 40s. It's amazing to me. But at the same time too, if you're doing it as a guard, because there's so many other guards that are faster. Yeah. You know, once you get past 34, it's a tough situation to stay in front of people. And
I was
a 2-3. Okay. And then in my last year playing, I became a 4, like a power forward. Yeah, and they did that kindly because I wasn't as fast as I used to be, right, and as energetic. So that definitely helped in my last year playing to play the 4.
How did you know when to call it quits?
I didn't want to go to practice anymore. Yeah. Like, I love playing 5-on-5. It's so fun to me. But I didn't want to prepare for it. I used to be all about the preparation. Like, my thing was I was going to outwork anybody on the team. I was going to come early and leave late. And I think that was the secret to my success for so many years. And then just at the last year of my career, I was like, I don't feel like doing that anymore.
Wow.
Like, I got burnt out. And I knew that if I stopped doing that, I was going to sell myself short, sell the team short. So I just told the team, I was like, this is going to be my last year. I don't want to re-sign for anything. I'm not trying to look for another contract. I kind of just want to ride off into the sunset. And, you know, I did my best to still maintain what I wanted to, which was the shooting. Like, for me, that was like important. But I didn't have the drive anymore to like, okay, I'm going to work on this move later. I'm going to do these extra sets.
Yeah.
And when you're 26, 27, 32, like, you're all about that, right? That competitive drive.
Yeah.
When I became 38, 39, I was like, do I really want to jump over these cones? Like, come on. Like, I'm a grown man and I'm jumping over cones. Like, you know, and like, that's my perspective changed.
Yeah.
And that's how I knew I didn't want to go to practice anymore.
Wow. Nice. So what do you do now? Like, what was your kind of retirement plan?
So I was fortunate to be hired back by Alaska as an assistant coach.
Nice.
And so I'm one of the assistants there. And then as part of my role, I co-direct the junior NBA in the Philippines. And basically I'm responsible for coaching kids on the weekends, grassroots. And then also Alaska has another grassroots program called the Power Camp, which I'm responsible for, or partly responsible for. So put together programs where you have to identify talent, but also teach young kids fundamentals of basketball, life lessons. And then you get to meet some cool people. And when I say cool people, I haven't met any like NBA stars yet.
Yeah.
The people that I'm talking about is you meet other coaches from other countries. And when you get to sit with them intimately and talk about ideas of coaching and coaching people. I also became a life coach
Nice.
after I got to finish a course in Singapore. And that's given me a huge perspective on how to train people and talk to people. So I try to infuse life coaching with basketball.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So instead of going, what's wrong with you? You got to go and hit these shots.
Yeah.
You know, I'll go, how does that feel for you?
Wow.
What does that look like to you? Right. So I ask these life coaching questions and players look at me like, what the hell? And then what's funny is they'll text me or call me later like, do you think we can talk?
Wow.
So I'm like, sure. What do you want to talk about? I don't really want to talk about basketball. I want to talk about this.
Yeah.
And so I life coach them in terms of, okay, we're about to have this conversation. This is what's going to happen. Da, da, da. And so it's given me a different perspective on how to treat people, how to talk to people.
I mean, how'd you get into the whole life coaching thing?
So near the end of my career, I started to fight and battle with depression. And I tried to take my life 3 times. And I finally got help. I was like, you know what, something's wrong. What the weird thing was, every day I'd still wear a smile to practice. And I'd be this because I was the team captain. I'm Tony De La Cruz. You got to be smiling. You got to wave. No one's supposed to know this. And then every night I'd go home and I'd drink like a bottle of Grey Goose and just want to die. And I'm like, something's wrong here. And I talked to a friend and he's like, hey man, if you need help, I have some resources. And so first person a friend told me about was a life coach. So talking to the life coach and it was helping for a while. I was like, I actually like this. But as I got deeper into my depression and what I was going through mentally, I started to see psychologists, psychiatrists who give you drugs, healers, you know, from Reiki to acupuncture, like Eastern philosophy. Like I did yoga, meditated, and nothing really kind of worked for me at the time. And after I started to get better, I would say, I realized I like that life coaching aspect. I want to learn more about that. And so I started to inquire and I looked up courses. I would take small, little seminars here and there. And then finally I was like, you know what? I want to do this. And so I coordinated with Alaska, and the owner of Alaska was really kind and helped support me in it. So they sent me to Singapore and I studied there. I had it was a 5-month course that I'd go back and forth for. And it was great. Obviously you're not, I don't want to say perfect, but at the same time, challenges don't seem so overwhelming. when they come about, right? Because I think that's what they need to teach in school. They need to teach kids life skills like that, like, because you're gonna get a hardship, right? It's like my dad said, so what? What are you gonna do about it, right? And so that's what happens in mental health, right? People will, I don't know how to deal with this, so I'm gonna start drinking and self-medicating. I don't know how to deal with this, so I'm gonna start smoking. I don't know how to deal with this, I'm gonna start gambling this, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not knocking anyone who goes that route. It's just, if you don't know how to deal with something in a healthy way, other things are going to take over. So I think that's a life skill that we need to teach kids early on. The thing that's stuck with me now is meditation. That's really helped, because I hated being on medication. I was on antidepressants, and it's the worst, right? So, I was like, is it going to be my life? I don't feel anymore. And so without my psychiatrist knowledge, I was like, screw this, I'm done. And I was on it for like 8-9 months, and I just stopped taking it. And I just started meditating, getting into meditation, getting into yoga. And it's part of, like, I guess, my daily ritual of sitting there, being in the moment. I still talk to people professionally, because I just did a talk for the PBA, and I said, you need to go after yourself, or look after yourself rather, mentally. Because if you sprained your ankle and you're like, I'm good, coach, I can keep playing. You probably can. You'll limp around, you'll get through. But the more you walk on that ankle, run on that ankle, rely on that ankle, something else is going to start to give, right? It might be your knee, it might be your hip. What if you did that for your mind? Something traumatic happened to you. Someone passed away. You saw someone get murdered. You lost a parent. Something. I'm good. I'm fine. And you just suppress it. Suppress it. I'll deal with this. And you start drinking, or you start just hiding it. It's going to show up somewhere else. And I think if you can understand that seeing someone psychologically, professionally, whether it be a psychologist, psychiatrist, life coach, it's nothing but good, because it's just something in your brain is not aligned, and you need to fix it. If it is chemical, then you have to get meds. That's fine. Like, I'm not knocking anyone who has to go that route, because I know people that have chemical imbalances that they need to regulate through medication, and that's great. But I think at the end of the day, you need to not hide and go, I'm fine. I'm not bipolar. I'm good. It's when you go away from that diagnosis, you're going to be in some real trouble, I think.
Well, how do you discuss that with, here in the Philippines? Because, Filipinos, and especially, Filipinos and Filipino Americans, they kind of shun away from this whole mental health discussion. Well,
I think in the last 5-6 years of my life, I've used any platform that was presented to me to speak. And I always tell whoever invites me, like, if they want motivational, I'll be like, okay, cool, I'll give them motivational, but I'm going to slip this in there. And I let them know, hey, I'm going to talk about these serious issues. And for the most part, everyone's been super supportive. They're like, yeah, great. And I'll talk about what I went through, and I'll talk about some like dark days and dark moments. And it's super vulnerable, and like I can see where people are like, oh crap, this is going to go a different direction. And then later on, someone will come up to me and be like, thank you. My mom killed herself, and I want people to understand about this, or my girlfriend is going through this, or I'm going through something. And the more we can talk about it and have a conversation about mental health, it's not stigmatized as, you hear mental and this person's crazy.
Yeah.
Oh, they're crazy. And that's such a dismissive word. So I hope that I'm the example, not of, look at me guys, I'm perfectly normal. It's, hey, outside looking in, anyone would have said you had the perfect life, right? I was in shape, on a great team, winning championships, making it to championships, earning great money, had a wife, kids. Outside looking in, Tony, you have the perfect life. You're supposed to be happy. But for some reason, it didn't click, and I wasn't happy, and I didn't understand it. So I think that when I tell that story to people, they can look at their life and go, yeah, it's kind of similar. Like, why don't I feel happy? Or why do I have thoughts of hurting myself? Or why am I so down every day? And I want to say there's nothing wrong with that. You just have to explore it, get the proper help, get the proper resources. If you don't know what that is, talk to people, right? Like, you can go and talk to a healthcare professional. You can talk to a doctor and say, I need to see somebody. If you go into any hospital, especially the emergency room, and you say, I think I'm going to hurt myself, they're by law supposed to help you, right? So, I don't want it to come to that point, but I definitely know that people need to have resources and outlets to talk about their mental health issues.
Did you ever get pushback from like Filipinos saying, "Oh, it's because you're an American"? We don't talk about this because we're Filipino. Kind of
no, actually, the people that have given me the most support are locals. Like,
nice.
in all my talks, like people will come up to me and they'll go, "Thank you." I'm looked down upon because I take meds. Or someone will come up to me again, like my aunt killed herself.
Yeah,
I'm glad you're talking about this. Or we're struggling with this in my family. Or my brother's gay and he doesn't want to come out to my parents because he's afraid. It's like, now I don't know if I'm the champion for all of that, but I know that at least we're talking about it and it's in the conversation. So that's a start. And for the most part, I've noticed it was more locals that have been so supportive. Not to say that Philams aren't supportive. Yeah. They definitely, I've had some feedback where they're like, thanks, man. Like, I felt the same way when I came out here. So again, it's like everyone has the same struggle, but it's different. And if you can bring that to light where people can talk about it openly, hopefully they don't internalize it and suppress it. And then it comes out later in some
bad form.
Right?
Yeah. Oh man, I wish we could talk more, but we got to wrap this up. Could we do a quick lightning round?
Sure, go.
It could be more than one word, but
okay.
Just quick lightning round. Favorite NBA team?
Los Angeles Lakers.
All right. I want to start out with that, of course. Favorite PBA team?
Alaska Aces.
Nice. Do you have any love for Shell still?
Yeah, well, Shell disbanded, so they're not in the. But I mean, I'll always respect. I mean, I still see my former teammates and managers and coaches, and we have that bond.
Nice. What do you think of the current NBA style of small ball?
I like it. I think that as much as I hate the Warriors, and because I'm a Los Angeles guy, but I respect what they do and how they play basketball. But I think
apologies to all the Bay Area fans listening to us.
It's just the rivalry we have, right? And right now you guys are up in the rivalry, but no, I think the way that the NBA is being played right now, in like the next 10, 15 years, you're going to see everyone's going to be Kevin Durant. Like you're going to find all these 6'10", 7-foot athletes that can shoot, dribble.
Look at Giannis.
Yeah, exactly. Right? Look at Giannis. Look at Porzingis. You're going to find all these like unicorns everywhere that can do all this, and you're going to have 5 guys that can switch every screen. You might have that outlier that's like really small that can do it all, but you're going to just have everyone that 6'8" to 7'2" that can put the ball on the floor. They can switch every screen, and you're just going to have 5 guys playing like that.
Yeah, I like the NBA style, but I do miss some of the kind of the rough style of the Knicks and the Miami Heat back in the day and Pistons. Well, I wish there was a little bit more of that.
Well, the problem, I don't want to say the problem. The problem is everyone is friends on social media, right?
Yeah.
Like you
and
didn't
friends
have
in real life, right?
And friends in real life, right? But like you didn't have that back in the day with like the Knicks and the Pistons and the Lakers and the Celtics. Like Larry Bird hated the Lakers, and Magic Johnson hated the Celtics. So and you talk about the Pistons and the hatred that they had for the Celtics, like.
And they all play together.
And I know I'm being critical right now, and you're probably going to get a lot of pushback from this, but like you didn't have Isaiah Thomas losing to the Celtics and then next year go, you know what, I think I'm going to join the Celtics, right?
Yeah.
And as much as I give crap to all my Bay Area friends, I talk about Kevin Durant.
Of course.
LeBron just did that to the Lakers, right? So I think in this day and age, those athletes understand that it's a business.
Yeah.
And at the end of the day, they want to leave with their legacy of I won championships, and I don't care what you think of me because I left. But I mean, I'm happy to say that back in the day, Magic never left the Lakers. Bird never left the Celtics.
No. And you had people who just kind of stuck with their team till the end, like a Mitch Richmond type of person.
Absolutely.
Would you ever do a TED Talk? I think you should.
Yeah, absolutely. If I had the opportunity,
you should.
For sure.
Yeah. Would it be about mental health, or what would it be about?
I don't know. I've thought about that. I love TED Talk. Like I watch a lot of different ones, and they're very interesting, right? And you have to be kind of concise and quick. maybe mental health. I don't know. I want to get to this point. Like, my goal as a basketball coach now is I want to figure out a way to make every single person on the team better. And the only way you're going to do that is if you study other coaches and other, I guess, industries where everyone rises. And the best one, I had a great conversation with a soldier, an ex-soldier, a veteran on an airplane. And we were both coming into the Philippines, and he turns to me and he's like, oh, what do you do? And I'm like, oh, I'm a basketball coach. What do you do? And he goes, oh, I own a business in the Philippines, but I used to be a soldier. And I was like, oh, really? And he told me this story about how he, served in Vietnam. And I said, hey, I don't mean to disrespect you, but would you say that being a soldier is the same? I mean, not in the sense of dying, but you guys are this tight unit in your platoon. Would you compare it to being an athlete on a team? He goes, oh, absolutely. He's like, it's totally spot on. And I go, and I look at basketball as fighting a battle, right? Each and every time, it's life or death. And I had this great conversation with him about how to train. Because he was telling me, he's like, hey, man, when I fought in Vietnam, I didn't think about, oh, there's going to be a parade for me. There's going to be this when I get home. He said, all I thought about was two things, not dying and the guy next to me not dying. And I was like, that's awesome, man. He goes, and the only way you can get to that level is how you train. And so my mind starts turning like, how can I apply this to basketball, right? How can I apply this? And so that's my goal. And maybe one day I do a TED Talk on
that'd be cool.
The greatest way to coach a team, right?
Yeah.
Who knows, right? Because there's a different formula for every team, right?
Yeah.
Phil Jackson did it different, Mike Dunleavy does it different, Steve Kerr does it different, Greg Popovich. You can go down the list of all these great coaches, but is there one formula? And maybe I want to try to find that formula.
Yeah.
That's my goal. Because to be a successful coach, everyone's going to judge how many championships you won, right?
Yeah.
But at the same time, how productive are your players at the end of the day?
Yeah.
Not only on the court, but off the court.
Yeah.
What kind of people are they? So maybe one day I'll do a TED Talk on I'm this successful, accomplished coach that's won a gazillion championships, but I give talks on why it works. I don't know.
That's awesome. This is Elaine's question. How does it feel to be in the shadow of Allison De La Cruz?
It's funny to me because as much as I hated growing up under her, and then everywhere I went, people were like, oh, you're Allison's brother. You're Allison's brother. It's cool to see her now, how accomplished she is and what she's done and what she's doing for her community. And, if I'm really sad because I don't get to see her all the time because she's there, I'm here. But I love the connection that we have because whenever we get together, and the one thing she's taught me my entire life, and I didn't realize this till like maybe 5 years ago, I hated how loud she was growing up, right? Like she's so loud and she's so like rambunctious and she's like all about being herself. And I would always tell her like, hey, chill, like relax. And I realized it came from this place of, hey, don't get so happy because if you're happy, something bad's going to happen. I was always thinking like that. I don't know if it's Catholic guilt or what, but I would always think like that, like, hey, chill, like don't be so. And it wasn't until after I was going through the depression and that I got out of it and I realized it's okay to be happy, right? Yeah. Like we're taught like, don't be happy. Why are you laughing? Why are you smiling?
Yeah, suppress it.
Suppress it. Yeah. Like, hey, relax. And I was doing that to her. And she knew at that moment, at that time when we were young, like, I'm going to be me. Mm-hmm. And it was so cool. Now that in retrospect, when I think about it, like, she had the secret already. Like, she was just going to be her, and whatever form that was, whatever that called for. And like, she'll walk into a room and she won't care if you like her or not. But at the end of the day, at the end of that visit, you'll go, I like that girl. She's funny. Like, and I see her interact with people and it's like, well, how'd you do that? And she just knows how to like communicate and she knows how to do that. So I think that's what's really awesome about her, aside from all the other things she does funny, but the fact that she knows how to be happy and be herself is really commendable in this day and age.
So for folks who don't know, Allison De La Cruz, she was interviewed in the Little Tokyo episode, so check that out if you want to know more about Allison. Last question. Where are you going to be? What's your vision 5 years from now?
So 5 years from now, so in 20 years from now, I'm going to look back in my life and say I was the Los Angeles Lakers head coach. But my perspective has changed because I talked to a really good coach, and he said, "Why would you want to do that?" He goes, "Coaching the NBA is going to be one of the hardest things you'll ever do, and you don't really get that much love because you have to be established." And it kind of knocked me back, and I realized I don't know if I want that, because I want to make an impact with people that need it. Not saying that NBA players don't need it, but like they have just different motivations. So I realized that where I want to be is I want to make an impact to younger people, men or women, boys or girls. And I want to be a head coach in 5 years, within a 5-year time, where I have direct impact on these kids' lives, whether it be high school, college, or professional. And that I'm helping them not only be better basketball players, but be better people. Now, do I need to be the head coach to have that impact? Absolutely not. I know that I can do that as an assistant coach, but I do have aspirations to be a head coach, and that's what I want to do one day. And But again, I want to learn and grow from other people, so that's my goal every single day. Like I had a great quote from a friend, says, "I'm a work in progress," and that's how I see myself.
Amazing. Well, thank you so much, Tony. I appreciate it so much.
Thanks for having me.
Hope you enjoyed this.
I did.
So Tony De La Cruz, former PBA player, former PBA champion, lives here in the Philippines. Maybe may move back to the U.S. Who knows? Going to finish UC Irvine, get a degree.
Go Anteaters.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks for having me.
This Filipino American Life is produced by Michael Nailat. Our intro and outro music is by Roger Habon, aka 10.4 Raj. Resident reality checker Girly Colado, legal advisor Rianne Fajardo, and graphic design by Vincent Collyer.